Hey guys, this week we are going to be working on our watercolor techniques paintings for our landscape paintings. I want you guys to start out by drawing 2-inch boxes onto your watercolor piece of paper and labeling each one as follows. The first one we're going to start with is the wet and wet. So this one I am taking my paintbrush and I am just wetting the square area here just to get my paper wet before I begin painting with my watercolor paints. So as you see, lightly painting just plain water into my square, trying to get it to be almost puddle-like in this box. Now I'm going to start adding a little bit of color to it, and you'll see once I add the color in, you can see it spreading out into the puddle that I had already created originally with the plain water. And I'm going to just spread this all the way across. This technique helps give your paint a more transparent look to it. If you feel that your paint is maybe too wet or you have too much of a puddle, you can use a dry brush to soak it up. Again, I'm just doing this in the box here. Soft strokes all around, and I just want to fill up this area. And that's your wet and wet. Now that's good if you're trying to get a cloud technique or any water techniques in the paintings that you're doing. So again, as I said, you can dry up your brush if you feel like it's too puddly, and it will act as an eraser and it will soak up that extra water for you. The next one we're going to work with is our drop color wet and wet. So again, this is the same technique. I wet the entire page again. Now you can see it as a little bit more blue because my water actually turned blue from the watercolor earlier. So this just helps you see what it actually looks like when you're trying to get that puddle look on your paper. And I spread it all the way out. Then I'm going to add my color into it as well. And again, it's just a little bit of color that I'm adding in. I don't want too much color. I want to be able to spread it out as much as possible. Soft strokes going all the way around. Again, this is a technique that you can use that will help create clouds or water, your sky, anything that is really included in a landscape. Now that I have my color down, I'm going to pick another color just to drop into it, just to give it a little bit more color than just the blue. So I'm dropping in some green dots. As you can see, as I drop it in, it expands into the water puddles that I have already created. Again, by adding the extra color, it's just giving it some contrast so it's not so blue. Now we have the green in there as well. My next one is the dry brush. So this is just, my brush is dry with the watercolor paint, and I'm using the texture of the paper to really bring out any techniques that I want to use with the dry brush. This makes it more opaque, which means that your color is bolder and it's not as transparent as it is in the last two, where it kind of gives that watery look. This makes it look a little bit thicker. So this is the dry brush technique. You're just brushing all the way around your paper. You can do it light so that there's still paper underneath, or you can do it all and just have your entire color be in that box. That's really up to you. But this is a great technique to try just to experiment of what way you like to use the dry brush. The next technique is salt. So you can use kosher salt, which is what I have, or any salt that you have around at your house. Again, I'm going to start out by doing the wet and wet technique. So I'm wetting my paper here, giving it that puddle-like look again. And then I'm going to go in with my color as well. So this time I'll take some more green and I'm going to go paint all the way around. And now with the salt, you'll see it's really cool because now the salt is going to absorb your water. So I'm going to take my salt and I'm just going to sprinkle it over after I'm done painting my entire square. Now you can do your sprinkles in one specific spot or you can do it all over. That's up to you, but as you can see, as the salt drops, it's starting to absorb the paint and soak it all up. So when it dries, it's going to leave a really cool effect on your paper. The next technique is the tissue blot. So again, I'm starting out with my original technique of the wet and wet, wetting my square with water first, and then I'm going to go in with the color. And again, just painting that entire square with the color. And once I'm done painting with my color, I'm going to take a tissue or toilet paper, whatever you have at your house, and I'm just going to blot around. Again, this is a great way to create some texture in your painting, whether you're working with flowers or again trying to make clouds or a different kind of water scene in your painting. So the tissue paper or toilet paper absorbs it. The next one I'm going to do, again, same technique with the wet and wet, wetting my paper as I have done before, and then I take the color and I add that in as well. But with the plastic this time, if you can use saran wrap or a plastic baggie you have at home, you can cut it up and we'll place the plastic on top and we'll let it dry for a little bit, and the plastic absorbs a lot of the water, leaving a really cool imprint onto your paper. So the plastic technique is a lot of fun and can be really useful in anything that you're painting with watercolor. It's really unique. There's really no control with the plastic, so it's whatever your plastic decides to make the design look. So again, I'm just cutting up a plastic bag here and I'm gonna crinkle it up a little bit and then place it on top of the area that I just painted. I'm gonna hold it there for a little bit and let it dry. Next is the crayon resist. I'm using a white crayon. This is a really cool technique too. It's almost like magic. The watercolor resists the wax. So you can draw out a design. Here I'm just drawing some vines and leaves, but this allows a design to be shown through the watercolor. And if you look next door to the plastic blot, that's how it dries. It's just a unique, different design with the plastic blot as well. So again, I'm just drawing with a white crayon only for the water resist. I'm drawing some vines. And then I'm going to paint over that. You know what? I actually want to do a border around here too. So you can see that it won't go out of the box either. So again, it's kind of like magic. So now all those things that I just drew with that crayon are now going to appear and not fill in where I drew. And you'll see my leaves and vines come out. And for my last technique, I didn't have a cotton ball, but I am using the end of a Q-tip, which is the same material. I'm just dotting and stippling all around with the paint. And then I'm going to go in and add some water to help spread out that color. Again, this is just giving a nice blending effect to if you want to do one color or two colors to make it darker than lighter. That's up to you. But again, you can use it as a clouding technique as well, or making a water technique for your landscape paintings. So now I'm going to go in with the green to blend it in together. Keep in mind when you're blending your watercolors, stick with colors that you know are going to blend nicely. You don't want to mix colors that are going to create that muddy brown. So reference back to your color wheels if you need to know which colors are best for mixing. So again, I'm just stippling with the end of my Q-tip. Again, you can use your cotton balls as well to get this tie-dye effect with your watercolor. And these are your watercolor techniques that you guys are all going to create in your sketchbooks and post them on Teams when you are done. See ya!